Hello. We all view life through a certain lens, but there's a truth we often don't even realize. Our character is actually a silent reflection of our thoughts. Our thoughts are the seeds of our behavior. These seeds germinate over time, become habits, and our habits build our character. So, how is it that the words that pass through our minds are so powerful that they can change the course of our lives? Today, we'll explore the impact of the power of thought on character using both scientific data and real-life examples. And perhaps by the end of this video, you'll see more clearly that managing your own mind means managing your life. Did you know that the key to creating realistic and believable characters lies in understanding what they think? It's not what a character says that makes them special, but what they think. Today, I want to start with a question. Are a character's thoughts more powerful than their actions? I'll wait for the answer in the comments, but don't worry, I'll give my answer at the end of the video. Science tells us this: our brains are shaped by what we think. There's a principle in neuroscience known as Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, the more we repeat a thought, the stronger the neural connections in our brain become. Positive thinking increases the release of happiness hormones like dopamine and serotonin. These hormones give us motivation, peace, and a desire for social connection. Negative thoughts, on the other hand, increase the stress hormone cortisol. When cortisol remains elevated for extended periods, it negatively impacts both our health and character. We can become more tense, impatient, and even hopeless. In short, our brain is like a muscle. It develops in the direction we exercise it. We all have recurring thought patterns in our minds. These patterns form the backbone of our character. What is the mechanism of thought? Understanding a person's inner world begins with exploring their inner monologue and subconscious thoughts. The inner monologue is a constant, never-ceasing voice in the character's mind, one that only we can read. Subconscious thoughts are beliefs that a person may not even be aware of, but that profoundly influence their behavior. For example, a person might say, "Everything is fine," but then ask themselves, "What should I do to get out of this situation?" This dilemma creates tension between a person's reality and their physical behavior. A person's core beliefs. For example, "The world is a dangerous place," or "I shouldn't trust anyone," are shaped by their past experiences and form the basis for all their decisions. These beliefs determine how a person approaches situations. How does thought begin? To explain it using the simple cycle formula: stimulus to brain spark to interpretation, memory plus emotion plus logic to thought plus emotion to behavior. Let's examine this cycle under 3 headings. 1. Seed. How does a thought begin?
A thought emerges in our brain through stimuli. This stimulus could be an external event, a sight you see, a word you hear, or a memory or dream you conjure up. The stimulus initiates an electrical signal between brain cells, neurons. This signal is quickly transmitted to other neurons via chemical messengers, neurotransmitters. Thus, the first spark is ignited in your mind. Number 2, garden. The shaping of a thought. The brain cultivates this spark through the garden of past experiences, knowledge, and emotions. The centers of memory, imagination, and reason, especially the prefrontal cortex, come into play. Here, the thought grows, branches, and leaves, meaning different scenarios and possibilities begin to emerge. The more frequently a thought is repeated, the more permanent pathways it creates between neurons. This phenomenon is called neuroplasticity. The third point is the fruit. The effect of the thought, on the other hand, begins to create feelings by affecting the emotional center, the amygdala, and related regions. These feelings determine our behavioral choices. In other words, when a thought is strong enough, it transforms into action. Outwardly visible behavior is actually the fruit of this process that begins within. Just as a seed falls into the soil and its fruit develops as a result of the constant care it receives, is a natural process and an expected outcome, right? Now, let's look at the situations we experience and experience repeatedly. How often do we experience the fruit of our repeated thoughts? What is the scientific basis for the thought-character connection? Let's talk a little about how a person's character actually has a scientific basis underlying their thoughts. Neuroscience and Hebb's law. Constantly repeating the same thoughts leads to the strengthening of the neural networks in their brain. Hebb's law in neuroscience states that neurons that fire together connect to each other.
The more a person thinks, "I'm a failure," the more persistent the neural pathways corresponding to that thought become. This increases the likelihood of acting on this belief, solidifying the thoughts like a highway in the mind. The chemistry of positive thoughts. When a person focuses on positive or constructive thoughts, the brain releases neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is associated with motivation and feelings of reward, while serotonin regulates happiness and well-being. These chemicals make a person feel more energetic, determined, and optimistic. This biological reward circuit encourages the person to repeat positive behaviors and supports positive character development. The impact of negative thoughts. When a person feels constantly anxious, afraid, or hopeless, the brain releases stress hormones like cortisol. High cortisol levels deactivate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that makes rational decisions, while overactivating the amygdala, which responds to danger. This can cause a person to behave more impulsively, reactively, and irrationally. Chronic stress and a cycle of negative thoughts can lead a person to avoid taking risks or develop destructive habits. Remember, your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. If you want to change your character, first transform your thoughts. Choose one thought today and consciously change it. Tomorrow, you'll see how that small change impacts your life. Take control of your life and steer it in the direction you want with conscious thought. Why does thought conflict with character? A character's internal conflict with emotions triggers their external conflict. A character's false belief or lie is the foundation of all the wrong decisions they make at the beginning of their life story. For example, a character who has lost their family believes they can't trust anyone, leading them to avoid connecting with new people throughout their life, creating a sense of loneliness. How does change in thinking and character development occur? A person's character also changes their thinking at turning points that change the course of their life. This change forces them to abandon an old belief. A character who was initially cowardly can demonstrate how they take courageous action thanks to their new thoughts, demonstrating their character's development. In all other emotions and behaviors, the resulting awareness plays a significant role in the main character's development by challenging their mindset. Showing this change is important, not telling it. Techniques for transforming character by changing thought. It's possible to see a character restructure by changing their mindset. This isn't just a person becoming good or bad, but also an evolution of their perspective on life and core beliefs.
This transformation is often triggered by a major internal conflict, the onset of questioning, or an external event. By consciously designing this transformation, a person can make a character's journey more meaningful and fulfilling. Here are some basic techniques for achieving this transformation. Inner monologue shift. Inject new thoughts into your character's inner voice that challenge their old beliefs. A character who initially thinks, "I'll fail," may begin to entertain a new thought such as, "What if I try?" after a turning point. This small shift is the first step toward a larger transformation. Confronting an external event. Create an event that directly challenges your character's most fundamental belief. A character who has trusted no one for years may unexpectedly find themselves needing help from a stranger or witnessing their sacrifice. This event acts as a shaking moment. Ultimately, becoming aware of your thoughts allows you to question your character, but let's also acknowledge that action is what initiates change. Thinking alone doesn't change us, but both thinking, realizing, and taking action can initiate the birth of a new miracle. So, let's now address the question we posed at the beginning.
Are a character's thoughts more powerful than their actions? Unfortunately, neither alone is effective. True power emerges when the two work together. But let's compare their effects. Thoughts are the seeds of actions. They are a yet-to-be-seen, yet direction-setting force. They begin in the inner world and over time transform into behavior. Actions make thoughts visible and tangible. Even if thoughts are powerful, their impact in the outer world is limited unless they are translated into action. Psychology and philosophy offer two different perspectives on this topic. Stoics. They say that training the mind is even more important than actions because actions arise from the mind. Behaviorists. Changing behaviors transforms thoughts over time. In other words, they say there's an external influence. In conclusion, thoughts are the guiding force, while actions are the force that transforms reality. Rather than saying one is more powerful than the other, it's more accurate to say that thought and action are a cycle that constantly feed each other. If what I've said in this video resonated with you, leave a comment. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and follow me for more health-related content. Take care. See you in the next video.